Good morning. I'm ready to start with the business presentation executed by Zappone Massimo. And I'm introducing now the following table contents about the introduction, the UK's economy, what Brexit really cost the UK, and if is it the worst over the world. And finally, I'm analyzing the reading concerning the definition of the negotiation, the listening about three business news, and I say the final greetings. Okay, in the introduction, I would like to start by UK economy in the last years, in the post-Brexit, but to arrive at the post-Brexit, it's essential to analyze very, very quickly the history of the Brexit. Okay, on 31st of January 2020, the UK decided to leave the European Union, and therefore it decided to leave the single market and the custom union, in which there is the free circulation of capital, goods and services, due to the referendum of 2016 voted by 51,89% of Britain's citizens. Some of the negative impacts post-Brexit are surely the contraction of the gross domestic product, GDP, for 2 consecutive months, and therefore, as reported by the chief UK economist Marion Emiot, there's little capacity for growth, and there's lower productivity and exports, and lower exports clearly makes limited labor supply in the UK. In the second point, B, there's an increase of the unemployment and the inflation, which is a general increase of the prices, and the inflation is monitored by the Consumer Price Index, this indicator. The objective of the Bank of England is to report at 2% the tax of inflation, with a restrictive monetary policy, in which there is an increase of the tax of interest, right? And about the increasing of the unemployment, there's the tax of unemployment at 4.7% in May, which is the highest level since 2021, while job vacancies since April 2022 precisely has been falling due to higher costs that employers pay on the payroll. And the tax of inflation in June is raising at 3.6%. What has Brexit really cost the UK? So, as reported by the researcher John Springford, Brexit has cost £40 of billion, and however, the restrictive fiscal policy of Boris government contributed to reduce the investments and to reduce the public spending, if we consider the losses of productivity of 4%. But at the contrary, if there was the unemployment, it's essential to say that the Boris government would apply fiscal expansive policy, increasing the public debt and the public spending, therefore the aggregated demand. And in the long term, the UK will face lower growth potential than in the past, and the slow adoption of technologies like artificial intelligence. The biggest challenge remains the final objective, therefore, the productivity. In this picture, there is an awful period, COVID-19 in 2020, which is not brilliant for the UK. In fact, there's a difficulty to the commercial exchange and lower exportation of goods and services. And now I would like to discuss about the negotiation, which is an interactive process in which there's an agreement between the seller and the client, and an example of deal is a multi-million-dollar deal between the seller and the client, or more people, during a discussion. And it's essential to say that some people affirm that the negotiation is all about compromise, but it's a misconception, because this idea might lead to destroy the relationships. And in order to avoid the negative relationships, it's essential to consider the collaboration as a solution, as a way that ensures the success in 5 steps: identifying the goals and therefore defining the objectives, separating the people from the issue in order to manage the negative emotion, and in the last 3 points, it's essential to list pre-meeting questions to find shared interests, building a team. And building a team means clearly monitoring the negative conflicts, and also about the negotiation, it's essential to look at creative options during the future perspectives that might work for everyone. About the listening, I researched 3 items about the business news. In the first item, in this news today, I talked about the recent elections. A 54.5% voter turnout was registered in the polling station, and despite of the raising of the young people, the young people are still likely to vote than older people. In fact, 84% of voters in the 70 plus age group came to the polling stations. And moving on, I also listened that the global powerhouse digital business ONK will obtain a gross margin of 34-35% thanks to an higher sales. And in fact, in March, Tim Bolling, who is a CEO of the business, issued a profit warning over fears that there would be losses following the recall of their leading product, the 40D device. Okay, in the final news item, finally, the citizen asked if they soon be saying goodbye to coins and notes. More retailers are accepting cashless payments, such as the credit card, the debit card, and similar methods, in order to reduce the number of items people need to leave their homes with, and in order to accelerate, to simplify the commercial transaction during the payments. In conclusion, may I remind you of some of the main points we've considered, explaining that the UK must focus on international trade agreements through the appropriate economic policies and the types of investments: bonds, equity stock, mutual funds, and commodities. And there's cytography. Many thanks for your attention. Goodbye.